Hey man, he Ron Baby Live come back at you with another edition of this Boomer's Logic. Now, we're going to be at this angle for a minute because I'm cooking for the family. Uh, Wife is at work. I decided to take another day off. I'll be going back in tomorrow, but I have the duties of cooking. And let me say this to you young cats real quick. Some of you young dudes who are in relationships, and I'm gonna be moving around. Some of you young dudes who are in relationships, you think that it's some type of a sin or an abomination for you to have to learn how to cook, for you to have to know how to cook and take care of your household. You know, if your woman is doing something and, let her go on about her business, take care of her business, as long as it's establishing the household. And you take on the domestic duties, cooking and cleaning. That don't make you less of a man. That means that you're in a relationship, and that's just how things work. Excuse me. So I couldn't get any spices out for myself. So anyway, just taking y'all along with me because I told you I talk a lot, and I talk to myself a lot about a lot of things. So I have a lot of stuff on my mind all the time, and I want to just start sharing it with y'all. But if you haven't already, like and subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications, blah, blah, blah. Y'all know what it is, man. I shouldn't have to keep telling y'all this, but I do. And tell a friend to tell a friend. I want to see if I can get 1 million people to come on here and start listening to this rhetoric. But anyway, man, I have been thinking about this particular subject for quite some time, right? And I wanted to get into it with y'all today and spend a little bit of time on it, just rapping at y'all about it. And it's this perception that these youngsters have, and I'm gonna tell you why it's a bad misconception, even though they perceive it to be one way, but they find out real quick that it ain't like that. And I'm gonna tell you how I found out in my journey in the streets that, listen, oh man, look, a lot of you young dudes running around here today, y'all think for some reason that catching bodies and all that stuff is the way to show that you a gangster, that you a G, and that you will hold it down. Let me explain something to you. That ain't it. Because first and foremost, eventually you're gonna have to pay the piper when it comes to that body, right? And when I say pay the piper, I mean you going to jail. So say for instance you don't go to jail, you get killed. Okay, you just done and over with. Nothing really matters about you anymore anyway. But say for instance you go to the joint. Let me explain something to you. I was 19, right? No, I was 20. When I was in Lebanon, I was 22, 23. It's a prison in Ohio, and it's called Lebanon. And for people who, I'm doing it now, buddy. Okay. She's at work, buddy.
What's wrong?
She's at work.
Oh, he's away.
Yeah. So for most of you dudes, or most of you people who don't understand what Lebanon is, okay, if I'm talking to a Louisiana cat, we talking about, I can't remember the name of that spot that y'all got, that they said it's the bloodiest mile, you know what I'm saying? That penitentiary y'all got up that way. California, Pelican Bay, you know what I'm saying? Et cetera, et cetera. Lebanon, when I was 19, which was in the 90s, was a really, really, really rough spot, right? And I'm believing I'm this dude on the streets, right? I'm snatching cats up by the throat. I'm fighting, anybody who wanted to see about me. I'm putting that work in. And I'm thinking that I'm cut like that. You know what I'm saying? And then on top of that, my peoples around me, they celebrate me like, this kid, a man, ooh. I'm going through fighting, 2 and 3 gangbangers at a time, not knowing that these cats is really some weak cats. You feel me? These cats I'm beating up, they ain't, you know, they got the fighting skills of a 4-year-old, considering to where I would be, right? Hold on 1 second. Okay, so I'm into a lot of bank robberies at the time, right? Robbing banks, robbing drug dealers when I was 22 and 23. A lot of fights, selling dope, a lot of pistols, all that stuff. So, you know, I thought I was bona fide. You know, I'm that dude. I got these hands. You know what I'm saying? I'm going through the hood wrecking shop. Listen, let me explain something to you. When they finally caught up with me on my bank robberies, my fault. When they finally caught up with me with my bank robberies, and I landed in Lebanon, right? The first thing, and it's a reason that I'm telling you this story this particular way. When I finally landed in Lebanon, caught my time, ended up catching 5 years, 10 months, right? So when I caught my time, I ended up in Lebanon. And when I got there, the police couldn't understand, like, oh, why is this dude here? And they asked me when I was in receiving, when they was dressing us out, and they was reading everybody's names off, and they literally called me and said, yo, because I only had 5 years, 10 months. In Lebanon, the starting time like was 15 years or better, 10 years or better, right? And I was there with 5 years and they couldn't understand it, right? So they asked me, they said, man, why are you here? I said, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Because my mind worked like, look, hold on, before I say that, I told them I didn't know. So they started reading my paperwork before they put me on the compound. Because they were kind of afraid to put me on the compound. Because it's very dangerous, whether you guys know it or not, and a lot of y'all don't, and you think you G's out there on the street, for you to go into an environment where everybody got life sentences and you got 2 or 3 years, it's very dangerous for you. And you don't know that. That's prison etiquette. Because them dudes that's doing all that time are jealous that you're getting ready to go home, and they will kill you. And anybody who's been to a serious institution will tell you that, like, yeah. So when I hit the compound, before I hit the compound, the police said, okay, we see why you're here now, right? Because when I was in the county jail, I was kicking up a lot of dust, right? I was doing a lot of fighting. I was fighting like nobody's business, right? They had to keep switching me from cell to cell, from unit to unit to unit, because I was doing a lot of fighting. So they was like, man, look, this dude is, we can't control him. So what we're going to do is we're going to put in this information that he's very high risk because he's a violent dude, so we're going to send him up the way. So they sent me up the way. So they said, when I got there, they didn't know I was there. And then when they read my paperwork, they said, oh, okay, you have a propensity for violence. And the first thing the staff told me, and I had never encountered this, even though I had 2 numbers previous to this, but I was always medium risk. At this joint, it was high to max, right? And most of these dudes weren't going home, right? So it was always something popping off in Lebanon. So they told me, the police told me, hey, yo, listen, when you get to the compound, don't tell nobody how much time you got, right? Just wait about 18 months, we'll get you out of here. So in my mind, I'm not processing what they're saying because I've been on 2 yards before, right? So we're still sitting back there and receiving, and this is how I was seeing things. We're still sitting back there and receiving, right? And it was a white boy who had got 25 years. And I'll never forget this conversation. And he was like, yo, I heard this yard is hard, man, and you know it's a lot of killing and raping and all that stuff going on, man. What you gonna do? And he's talking to me. I said, what you afraid for? The same work that you was putting in the street, put it in here. And this is how my mind worked because, you know, I've had some fights and some stabs. I shot at a couple dudes. I had been shot, you know what I'm saying, and stabbed, and, you know. So I just thought, naturally, this was the natural order of things. But I quickly surmised that it wasn't. It wasn't that type of environment. As soon as I got into Orient, right, Lebanon, my first day, this is literally my first day. I'm walking up, I was on the second tier. I can't remember what unit I was in. Anybody who's been there, I was in the very back unit on the right. I think it was A house. So I go up and I'm on the second tier, right? Man, why, as soon as I put my stuff down, I go to walk on the tier, and off of the third tier, they throw a cat from over the tier. And I look down and he done landed on a chess game. Now, yeah, this is my first day. This is my first 2 hours. This is the first thing I see, and I'm like, yo, what up? What's going on? You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, okay, all right, okay, they a little bit rowdy here, okay, all right. But it got ratcheted up. So I think that same week, it was a murder right in the hallway, where a dude had a punk. The punk was trying to break up with him. The dude come from another unit with some knives strapped around his hands with some ace bandages, right? And he just started hitting the punk, hitting him with his hands because he had the knives on him, like some Wolverine type stuff. And killed the punk right there. They don't stop chow or nothing. They running chow and everything. All they do is scoop the punk up, put him on the thing, get dude out the hallway, put some of that yellow tape around there so they could clean the blood up. And they just keep running chow. Nothing shut down. This is when I knew it was serious. This is when I knew. I said, yeah, you proclaiming all that gangster stuff, boy. You gonna have to ratchet it up a notch. And I can't remember who I told. I believe I told my brother, Tony. I said, yo, listen, I thought I was a gangster until I got to Lebanon. Man, them dudes was for real. And when I say fighting, these dudes, you had like dudes who was fighting 2 and 3 and 4 dudes at the same time, smashing them, destroying them. You know, so this little choke out stuff and all this stuff that I was perpetrating on the street, yeah, I was playing. I was pump faking. You know, I had to tighten up. You know, I had a couple squabbles. I think I had 2 squabbles there. You know what I'm saying? One that really almost had the institution go up. It's real political. I ain't gonna get into that. But my point is this. You dudes, man, you in these streets, you pulling these triggers, and you think that's gangster. That's not gangster. A baby can pull a gun trigger and kill somebody. Anybody can point a gun and kill somebody. That's not gangster. You're going to learn whether you're a gangster or not when you hit that compound. It was an old head dude that was there. His name was Bobby. And his name was Bobby. And I loved Bobby, man. Bobby used to run the yard every day in his Timbs, in his Timberlands. They called Bobby the dentist, right? They called him the dentist because he was an actual dentist. But he was in Vietnam, right? Bobby had been to Vietnam. Bobby sat me down one day, right? And this is what Bobby said to me. Bobby said, yo, listen. Bobby ran the track every day to stay in shape, combat ready. Bobby said, listen, the true measure of a man, or a man really knows who he is when he's in combat, when he goes to war, or he's in prison. Because you learn who you are then. Because I've seen many a gangster, I'm talking about pistol popping cats, right? That was on the street, who got to prison, and I know one in particular, man, I don't want to call his name, he was a terror at that particular time when I was in the street. He was a terror, he was from my same neighborhood. He was a terror, right? Soon as they got him in the joint, them dudes in the joint was robbing him, beating him up, everything, because he wasn't built for that. Just because you can pull a trigger doesn't mean you're a gangster. It don't mean that you built for this gangster environment, all the stuff that's going on around you. It don't mean you built for that. You know what I'm saying? So Bobby said, you find out who you are when you're in warfare or you're in prison. Because number one, dudes is going to press you in prison. They're going to press you to the full extent while you're in prison. You know what I'm saying? And you got to figure out real quick who you are. You know what I'm saying? You going to succumb to the pressure. You know what I mean? Because I seen dudes that came in with me to the joint who was gangsters in the county that ended up on the end of another man's slum. I'm gonna be honest with you. They was gangsters in the street, you know, toting that heat, talking all that tough stuff, you know, Mobb Deep, all that good stuff, and they ended up right on the end of a dude's slum. Seriously. Because when the rubber meets the road, who are you? So you think you busting these guns and all this stuff like that there, man, that don't make you a gangster or a gorilla. You gonna find out when you hit that fence or that yard whether you built like that. You gonna find out real quick. So, you know, I ain't do 4 or 5 stints, not knowing who I was. I would put work in, but at the same time, I was a politician. I spoke well. I was very intelligent. People liked me because I could handle and deal with certain situations. Like I said, I've had to put in work at different times, but it wasn't like that with me. I know dudes who fought every day. I had a celly from New York, man. This dude fought every day just because that's what he liked to do. This dude, one day, man, listen, because everybody knew what I was in prison for when I was in the feds, right? So one day he comes in the cell and he brings in probably look like about 40 grams of uncut heroin, like a big chunk, because he was getting in stuff from the street and all that, right? And he brings it in, and I'm sitting in the cell, and he closes the door. He said, yo, and this is at lockdown. He puts it on the thing and says, yo, what do you think I can get off of this? How much is this? Do it look good? Do woo woo? I say, yo, what the hell are you doing, man? And that's how it was when you was in there, man. It's a world inside of a world, and this is what a lot of you cats don't understand. You're young, you're inexperienced, and you believe that somehow you killing somebody ratchets you up this scale, this you know what I'm saying? Because it's levels to this, man. It's levels to this. And just because you kill somebody and then you hit a compound and everybody say, oh yeah, he killed such and such, that don't mean nothing on the yard. It don't. And you're gonna get tried. You're gonna get tried. You know what I'm saying? I've seen some cold, smooth killers, man, be on the end of a cat's joint. To be honest with you. So you dudes thinking that the manifestation or what it takes to be a gangster is killing somebody. It's not. It really isn't. That's the last resort. And even gangsters will tell you, that's like the last resort they want to turn to is just killing somebody, unless they're just getting paid for it. You know what I'm saying? I know a lot of dudes who was just getting paid to kill people. And I know a lot of dudes who just enjoyed shooting people, man. I knew a lot of these dudes. Like, I mean, I've stood next to a dude who just enjoyed shooting people. And I'm like, oh, why? You know, but that is not, and y'all watching these YouTubes and y'all watching these videos and y'all watching this. Okay, they might be doing that. Y'all might be putting y'all might be living up to the gimmick, right, by killing people. But I'm telling you, when you hit them yards, man, when you hit them yards, them gates, and them fences, it's hell to tell the captain, because you got to be able to hold your own. And most of y'all just jumping straight off the porch. You're not putting in any work. You have not even had a hand-to-hand fist fight. If you did, it was you and 70 of your friends. You have not been in central booking, you know what I'm saying, where it's just you and it's two dudes over there and you got to rock. You don't even understand that. And that's the problem with most of you young dudes, man. Y'all think everything is, you know, a video game. And it's not. Once you get in there, man, and people are trying to survive, dudes is hungry, they trying to eat, you got money, you know what I'm saying? Or they just on some booty time and they trying to see about you. You got to be able to defend yourself. You got to be able to fend for yourself. And a lot of you dudes don't understand that. Y'all running around here popping these pistols, and somebody needs to tell you, look, I'm going to tell you who you need to look to and who you need to listen to. You need to listen for real, honestly. You need to listen to the 50s and listen to his music and what he's telling you. He's not telling stories. This dude really lived this. See, you got to remember, in that particular era, I was in New York. I was down there with the Supremes and all that. So with, you know, all that stuff was going on, these are the times that I was interacting down there and going to Florida and Miami and all these places. I was selling a lot of dope. So these people are not, they ain't faking. They're for real. You know what I'm saying? These dudes are, honestly, they're like that. You got Cam. When Cam tells you, it's a part in Cam, Killer Cam, I think it's Killer Cam, when he shouts out Ohio. Cam was selling mass heroin in Columbus, Ohio. I know that, I mean, literally, I know this dude. Him and all the New York dudes, I used to interact with these dudes. You know, these dudes were really street dudes. So they know about when they hit the bing, what they got to do. It ain't nothing. When they hit the joint, they understand. You look at that movie 50 Cent made, that's not, he didn't just make that up out of his head. This is what he experienced. He knew as soon as he got there, he was going to be having to bang. He was going to be having to fight. And he understood that. Fighting 2 or 3 dudes ain't nothing when you get to the jail. But a lot of y'all don't understand that. You think popping a gun, you know what I'm saying? And then when you get there, everybody going to go, oh, yeah, he shot such and such. Man, listen, they trying to eat. And you look like food. T.I. What's that one dude? What's that dude name, man? I like him a lot, too. I'm gonna remember his name. Dark skinned dude. He be really giving up a lot of game. He lived down in Atlanta, and I can't remember his name. But yeah, he's like that. You see, I've been there. If you don't know my story, man, go pick my book up. It's a true story. And this is why, like, a lot of the dudes that I interact with, because I know that they had that same energy. You know what I'm saying? That if they hit central booking, they ain't got no problem with going in a cell. You know what I'm saying? That they're going to work and they're going to rock. They ain't going to succumb to the pressure. You know, and a lot of y'all don't realize that. Y'all think that this is a game. Y'all just floating around, you playing, and you catching these bodies and you catching these cases. But when you get behind them fence and gates, man, it's a whole different ball game, and you can't stand the pressure. So I just wanted to make this video, man, just to share a little something with y'all right now, just to talk to y'all, man, especially you young dudes. And I'm gonna be on this particular topic for probably the next couple videos, because I do have something else I want to say in regard to this. But until then, I'm signing off. Love y'all. See y'all on the next one.